Next on the agenda, so we've got 30 minutes allocated for this section. And I'd like to thank Richard and Dean for joining us. Thank you very much. And I'll hand over to you to get us started. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Shall I press this? Yeah, okay. Thank you, Councillor Renders. Hello, good morning. My name is Richard Drysdale. I'm the Director for Conservation and Communities for Dartmoor National Park Authority. The normal introduction to that is I look after everything that goes on within the national park, apart from planning. So it's a perfect segue to my colleague.
So I'm Dean Kinsella, and I'm the Director, thank you, I'm the Director for Spatial Planning. So I cover all things planning policy, development management, but also policy around the Dartmoor Management Plan and Climate Action Plan.
So thank you for allowing us to come today, or inviting us to come along today. I'm just going to set the scene. I was asked to talk about a nature-centric Dartmoor. So I'll go through and just highlight a few of the key schemes or key elements that we're engaged with at the moment. If there are any questions, please don't hesitate to stop me and ask them, and I will endeavour to answer them as fully and immediately as possible. I think most importantly, and Dean and I will refer to this several times, is talking through the Dartmoor Partnership Plan. The Partnership Plan is also known as the Management Plan. Every protected landscape, so that's the 10 English national parks and the 34 national landscapes in England, have to produce one of these. It's a statutory function. And this shows, setting out a joint long-term vision and ambitions for Dartmoor. So to be clear, this is a management plan for the national park and not for the National Park Authority. Yeah? So this is working with our partners, and it provides that framework for partnership working through the priorities and action plans within that. This year, you'll see the partnership plan runs through from 2021 to 2026. We are just undertaking a review now. West Devon Borough Council sit on our partnership plan review panel, and we also have now through the Lura Act is that having more than recognition is actually understanding and working with and having account to your work to support national park purposes. So I'll come on to the vision in a second, but I'm just going to go through what we've got within the partnership plan and how we work to that. Doesn't make any sense with the sound there. We have a variety of schemes. One of the schemes is Farm Dartmoor, is the Dartmoor Hill Farm project. The Dartmoor Hill Farm project supports the farm and the farming community across Dartmoor. It looks at a variety of schemes. It will look at the transition to agri-environment schemes. It will look at mental health within the farming community. It will look at succession planning. It will look at healthy livestock, etc., and also work across our other projects. Critically, at the moment, for the UK, for England, you might be aware, subject to your ward or your engagement or background, that the natural environment and farming within that is in a very difficult situation at the moment, with the uncertainty around payments, around the environmental land management schemes. Within a triangle of environmental land management schemes, at the top is what's known as landscape recovery, and Dartmoor is fortunate to be involved in 3 landscape recovery areas. The first one that went through to go at development was the East Dartmoor Landscape Recovery Area. That speaks for itself. It's in the East Dartmoor through the Bobby Woodlands, taking up part of Haytor, Lustley, and up almost as far as Morton Hampstead. And that has been led by Devon Wildlife Trust, primarily with a range of ENGOs and other partners in that area, because they are the major land holders in that area. But the idea being, within these landscape recovery areas, that farmers, landowners and conservationists will join forces for a 20-year government-backed project. The other two schemes we have on Dartmoor was purportedly meant to be the biggest landscape recovery area in the country. I've recently heard there might be one bigger in Suffolk, but needless to say, the Central Dartmoor Landscape Recovery Area is exactly that. It's a huge project which takes in many of Devon's rivers, 6 commons, 40 farms, and more than 200 scheduled ancient monuments. Covers about 90 square miles, but is farmer-led. So it's been led by the Central Dartmoor cluster. But it also covers the Duchy of Cornwall estate. And working through the Central Dartmoor Landscape Recovery Area and with the Duchy of Cornwall estate, they have produced this book or this vision. It's called Dartmoor, A Landscape Vision. And what this looks to do through over 20 stakeholder workshops, it produced a series of maps and visions. So it takes a vision for the high moor, for enclosed uplands, and for valleys and foothills. And I can send the link through to the PDF version of this. This is not saying this is what Dartmoor will look like in this area, but what it allows the landscape recovery team to do is to go to a farm or a cluster and say, these are the elements that we feel could be within the landscape. What do you think is possible within your area or within your common? So it allows to start that conversation. It's a hugely important piece of work with lots of engagement and is emblematic of the fact that it's true to say that the Duchy of Cornwall and the Duke recently came to Dartmoor. It have renewed or increased their not interest, but their commitment to Dartmoor. It's their biggest estate. They're also looking at Princetown, a placemaking strategy, working with yourselves and with the National Park Authority and critically the Princetown Business Network, but also the natural environment and how that sits and looks ahead to the future. The third landscape recovery area is the Walkham Landscape Recovery Area, critically coming through the West Devon area. Some of you around this table are involved in that landscape recovery area, and that has been led by Dartmoor National Park Authority. The Walkham is a fantastic example of Dartmoor's mosaic landscape, formed over thousands of years, and it will probably please many of you to think is that many within the National Park Authority think is the best example and one of the finest kind of valleys within the National Park. But we're coordinating the scheme, going back to with the Dartmoor Hill Farm project, but also with the farming community and landowners. The next bit I just wanted to talk about is the Farming in Protected Landscapes scheme. This is entering its 5th year. It's a government scheme which sees every protected landscape in England have a pot of money which it can deliver to projects which are primarily farmer-led, but are reaching either nature, people, climate, or place, hopefully more than one of those. Last year, we had over £1 million of funding to allocate through that programme, which we did successfully, not only allocated, but that money was spent by all those schemes. And so far, we've supported over 180 projects across the National Park, with many being within both the West Devon, obviously the South Hams catchment. This year, we have just over £750,000 to allocate, and the applications are open now. Under the climate element, for example, over 6,000 native trees have been planted, 14 rivers and streams protected or enhanced, and there have been 103 of those projects have helped Dartmoor become more climate change resilient. For nature, 18,500 hectares of priority habitat has been managed, 3,500 hedgerows have been brought back in traditional management, and 88 projects improving habitat connectivity. So just as a reminder that lots of those projects, and that's what we're looking for them to score highly, is they are reaching multiple benefits there through climate, people, nature and place. Dartmoor National Park Authority is also very much involved in the Curlew Recovery Project. The Curlew Recovery Project, based up in Princetown, led by the Wildfowl and Wetland Trust with Duchy of Cornwall, RSPB and ourselves. Over 100 chicks have been fledged from Prison Farm in Princetown, but this is the final year of the 5-year partnership project. We're also involved with Devon Wildlife Trust in the Pine Marten project. So 15 pine martens were late last year released on the east side of Dartmoor. Pine martens, they didn't necessarily like the east side of Dartmoor, and they found their new habitats pretty quickly and spread across Dartmoor. But that project has been well received, well communicated, in our opinion, and there's further releases scheduled to happen on Exmoor, but also hopefully on Dartmoor in due course. Obviously, it's also about, while you have key habitats, it's also about bioabundance and working. We have a healthy livestock project. We also look at dung beetle populations. Soil health is absolutely critical, but the difference between basalt and granite and how the soil changes and earthworms, etc., is also work that the Hill Farm project and others will be doing, but also doing work, for example, enhancing habitat for fritillary butterflies, be that bracken crushing, working alongside Devon Wildlife Trust and butterfly conservation. And we'll also go right down to the smaller bit, working on reintroduction to ladies' tresses, a very small plant, but crucial. And Dartmoor, as Dartmoor does best, is quite often the last habitat for lots of these flora and fauna. Other key projects we have, and I'll send around the link so that it's available for the Dartmoor Natural Environment Projects. We have the Dartmoor Headwaters Natural Flood Management Project, which we run alongside with the Environment Agency. That's enhancing, restoring, maintaining habitats and structures across Dartmoor. And we've done lots of work, more in the South Hams area, around Harford and Ugbermore, but looking at how that whole catchment approach, so then talks to the work we do with the Peatland Partnership, which I'll come on in a moment, and retaining the water, enhancing the peat, storage for carbon, and then as we come down, slowing the flow from the moor, again, trying to retain that. And again, here, there is a film, which I'm sure will be here, called Farming the Flood, which I would recommend is watched, but it's just recently been released, showing how important natural flood management is. The South West Peatland Partnership is again the Natural Flood Management Programme with the EA has got funding through to 2033. The South West Peatland Partnership, that's South West Water, working with National Park Authority, National Trust and Duchy of Cornwall. We've got money there until March 2027. And in 24-25, we put under restoration nearly 400 hectares of peatland. It's to say under restoration, it will take 100 years or more to say whether that peatland is restored. So that's why I use the frame under restoration. But it's about that whole catchment approach. And the biodiversity, particularly around Ockerton Court, so that's just outside Oakhampton, Oakhampton Battle Camp, is just the increase in the biodiversity, the storage of water, etc., has been well monitored and has been a true success of that programme already. Our Upland Commons is just coming to an end. It's been a 3-year programme that we've been running on Dartmoor, looking at commons management, the collaboration, resilience, commons for all, commons for tomorrow, but working alongside the Lake District National Park, Yorkshire Dales and also Shropshire Hills National Landscape. But again, that's done a huge amount around looking at leats, tree surveys, bird surveys, working with farmers, developing education for farmers and celebrating their commons. We've also just been fortunate on the back of that, just to be successful with a National Lottery Heritage Fund grant. We've just been received, haven't received it yet, been guaranteed just over £3 million for Dartmoor's dynamic landscapes. That's concentrating on 3 key catchments, the Oakmont, the ermine yelm, I'll say them quickly and make them as one, and the dart, and 3 key hubs. So those hubs are Oakhampton, Princetown and Ivybridge, and it looks to then encourage that greater understanding by those who live, work and visit the area, as what makes it so special, as well as retain that benefits for farming and the natural environment. You might also be aware, because Dartmoor can't quite keep itself out of the news, that it had a major review about protected site management by David Fursden, and then following that, Devon ministers then having commissioned that review, then authorised the establishment of the Dartmoor Land Use Management Group. That's basically got 5 key themes, but is working with a variety of partners, over 20 different partners, around how Dartmoor's sites, protected sites, will be managed into the future, and how Dartmoor's farming and natural environment works critically together. Dartmoor National Park Authority is also a key element of the Dartmoor local nature, the Devon Local Nature Partnership. Devon Local Nature Partnership, obviously, as it speaks for itself, sits across Devon, looking at restoring wildlife and natural systems across Devon, looking at the resilience to restore nature and to improve our resilience to climate change, and critically is leading on the local nature recovery strategy, which will soon be going out for public consultation in late September. There is a piece of work that we need to do, both with the National Park Authority and then here for West Devon, just to make sure that you as councillors have seen what that public strategy is and what will be going out to public consultation. And finally, we are also involved, as you are, on the Plymouth and South Devon Community Forest. The Plymouth and South Devon Community Forest covers all of Dartmoor. We sat there in many branding meetings talking about the name, and when, say in here we live streamed, but just going through when Plymouth and Devon County are involved, trying to get both names in there is quite difficult. I said that what we would do is we wouldn't put Dartmoor into the name, but it's got a strap line underneath. It's Plymouth and South Devon Community Forest, incorporating all of the national park. But we're working with that to how we can improve tree planting, which is inherently difficult as you go further up onto the moor, but look at natural regen within our communities and through catchments, but working proactively to connect we, humans, and nature. I will send several links there, but they're all the bits I was going to bring up around Dartmoor and the various projects we have at the moment. I don't know if there are any comments or questions before I pass on to Dean.
Councillor Vachon first.
Thank you, Richard. Very comprehensive. The only thing missing from that was actually the visitors and the people who use them all. Obviously, Dartmoor and the national parks were set up really to give people somewhere to go and enjoy a bit of health and well-being, but there was no mention of that in there. Obviously, some of that must take. There must be some sort of consideration of visitors and the ordinary person on the moor in consultation with the farming and the regeneration of the moor as well. And obviously, you're regenerating areas of the moor which have obviously got damaged. Is that due to population or people using it too much, and in which case you'd have to channel them into different areas or reduce the numbers using the moor?
Thank you, Councillor Vachon. So I was given the brief to talk about nature-centric Dartmoor. I could, as others here could probably testify to, I could probably speak to you all day about various bits, and to be fair to you, kept it to one particular area. You're absolutely right. People are key. Better for people is a very key area here. The tourism element for Dartmoor, for national park visitor centres. You'll be aware that, unfortunately, as the National Park Authority, we had to take the difficult decision from the end of October, we'll be closing the National Park Visitor Centre at Princetown, but are working proactively with the Duchy of Cornwall. We're hoping that the next iteration there will be really positive, both critically for the village, but for Dartmoor and the wider national park. Working with the tourism community, I sit on the board of the Devon Local Visitor Economy Partnership, work with Visit Dartmoor, and we have a whole host of schemes, as well as managing 450 miles of public rights of way, having the other visitor centres, supporting that through the local economy, through the gifts and trades that we put through the visitor centres. So we see over 125,000 people through our visitor centres. Your answer about restoring the moor, over 368 square miles, our evidence, by and large, apart from possibly doing 10 tours or some DOV training, is that we very rarely go more than about 100 metres away from our car. And so people will stick to those rights of way. That's why it's so important that we work with Devon County Council, because we do it as an SLA and with Devon County Council to manage those rights of way, and we have 15 miles without stiles to enable access for all. I think the damage that has been seen, or the reason for areas having to be restored, is yes, due to some population pressure, yes, possibly due to some historical farming elements or ongoing farming elements, climate change, but also just Dartmoor has got 10,000 years of human interaction. And the one thing you say about Dartmoor, it's it's from tin streaming to Bronze Age archaeology through to ice houses up in the North Dartmoor. Dartmoor's always undergone change. I'm
just thinking also to add to the damage of the moor. Obviously, the military use a fair proportion of that moor, and quite a lot of that does has had a lot of damage over the years they've been using it. Are they involved in any of this?
Our relationship with the military is very important from a people perspective, because they support 10 Tours, largest youth challenge event in the country. And we also, as part of the Dartmoor steering group, they have their 25-year licence with the National Park Authority and the Duchy of Cornwall. We're halfway through that now, so we hold the military to account for that damage. They also support the Peatland Partnership, and through their country stewardship fund, we also bid for money nationally for them to support projects within the military training area. Obviously accepting that historical element for why Dartmoor is a military training area, and if you meet with the military, the one element that they always say is this looks identical to the Falklands, so you can understand why they're still using that, and also particularly now, given the current geopolitical context, the battle camp is as busy as it has been for a while. But yes, we work very closely with the military and hold them to account, and particularly hold them to account at the moment on unexploded ordnance.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Daniel.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for that. It was really informative. Just had a couple of questions, if that's okay. Quick. Hedgerow management, you mentioned it. Is it a requirement to manage, for landowners to manage for natural recovery? Because to my view, it's a really quick win to improve biodiversity if you allow your hedgerows to thrive rather than smash them down to the bare roots, as we see so many times across Dartmoor. And, what is the policy on that with people that have hedges, how they manage it? And the other one is the dung beetle. I had this conversation with a horse owning friend recently, and she said it's really noticeable if they've wormed their horses that there's no dung beetles in the dung, because obviously they pick that up. And that must hold true for people that worm their dogs and their cats and their other animals, that has a real impact on biodiversity. And what can you do to perhaps work with vets and the general public who own or walk on Dartmoor to pick up the poo and make sure that it doesn't get into the environment? But that's really about education, isn't it? And only using the chemical treatments when you absolutely need to. Sorry, two questions there. Thanks.
No, thank you very much. So first one on hedgerow management. If you're in an agri-environment scheme, then yes, it potentially would be in there, but they're in other times subject to the damage you do or the way you manage it. It's not necessarily part of that wider management, but it is about education. You're right, that's why farming protected landscapes is so important, because we can do that wider bit of management. The Dartmoor Hill Fund project has also been successful with a Natural Environment Investment Ready Fund, and that is doing a program called Boundary Boost. And Boundary Boost is doing exactly that, because hedgerow management is absolutely key for biodiversity, for climate storage, but for flood management as well. And so it's working across Dartmoor and Dartmoor Farms to look at the importance and how we encourage all of those who not only in agri-environment schemes but without and would normally be reached. So you're absolutely right about education. Education again on the Healthy Livestock Project, working across farms and around. It's about the inputs and what comes out to the outputs, so it's showing about changing that chemical balance and being aware of what the inputs are into your stock, and then how that can change soil health, and soil health will then help multiple benefits across the national park. That specific part around dogs is something that's been taken up nationally, and we need to push with DEFRA. Another report today around the high cost of vets and vet bills, and how easy it is to go into your local supermarket and just pick up a tick treatment or some worming treatment without any understanding, and why would you have, about the damage it's then doing further within the rivers. So national park authorities and national landscapes are working together to work with the vet industry, remembering it's a multi-billion-pound industry, and to try and get them to understand the importance of that for river management and healthy soils, etc. Dogs on Lead is a key part of it. We have something called the Dartmoor Rural Crime Initiative, and we work with multiple partners, EA, the police, Dartmoor Livestock Protection Officer, around how people manage their dogs. Livestock attacks are unfortunately up, but not only how they manage their dogs, but also how they ensure that their dogs are wormed and treated for ticks properly, then at the right time, right place, and when they go in the water, and that they pick up their mess where possible.
Councillor Daniel, would you mind switching your microphone off, please? Thank you very much. Councillor Reid, and then Councillor Viney, and we're coming up to the end of our time.
Yeah, quick question, Chair. Thank you very much. I'm interested in knowing about the amount of moss and that sort of area. How much is that? You're talking about wetlands, etc. What sort of percentage is that across the whole park area?
So the whole park area, we have something called, again, the Protected Landscape Target and Outcome Framework, which is a nationally set target through to 2045 or 2050, working with partners about the total area that we're looking to restore around for peatlands. Because soils and soil management are very difficult to survey accurately, we have about 9,000 hectares. So that's about 1/10 of the national park, but there's about 19,000 hectares of peatland within the national park.
Do you get volunteers helping with on the peatlands and removal of unwanted foliage, etc.? I was involved in a process years ago where we had a very large sphagnum moss, and we would go out and remove trees and other things to help do that.
The South West Peatland Partnership have quite a robust volunteer programme. It's mainly to do with monitoring, where the areas that we're working at the moment higher up on the catchment, the amount of foliage, or the contractors will deal with any kind of change there as they move that. So because they're dealing over such large areas. So as I said, 400 hectares last year was put under restoration. But the volunteer programme is around photography and monitoring mainly.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I think, can we have Councillor Viney, then Councillor Guthrie, and then hopefully finish? Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. Thanks for coming in. I'm fully supportive of the 3 landscape recovery projects. Been a real enthusiast of that concept from the start. Can you tell me, is there anything specifically, in view of the fact that going into the 20-year phase of landscape recovery, what started out as a 50% percentage of that budget had to come from private finance? That's going to be very difficult to attract with 3 small projects. is there anything specifically being done to bring the whole of Dartmoor into landscape recovery?
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Viney. Landscape, I couldn't agree more with you around green finance. I know that the 2, possibly 3 projects have gone through so far. The amount of green finance that's actually been allocated to those projects is a lot lower than DEFRA were expecting. We are, all National Landscapes are working with the DEFRA Green Finance arm to look at how we leverage greater green finance. My personal view is that all of us running around having different green finance teams or trying to work together is too small for the likes, the big corporations or to go into the city. That's why this, best in the world, Richard Drysdale going to Canary Wharf against His Royal Highness Prince William going to Canary Wharf. I know who I'd probably give my money to. So we need to be aligned. We need bigger areas. Whether the landscape recovery projects come together, I don't think that's necessarily likely with current DEFRA bits, but potentially the funding might come together. So because I think that also, just to be clear, is we've also got this Southwest Green Finance initiative, which is looking at how all the way from Gloucester to the Isles of Scilly, we can look at green finance across the whole piece.
Thanks. I know, having spoken to DEFRA about this, they are fully supportive of Dartmoor going into one scheme. So it'd be really nice to see some action on that.
Councillor Guthrie.
Yeah, just a quick thank you. It's been great to have you here, and I think next time we'll allocate you 2 hours. First of all, one of the things I was listening to you about water retention. Everyone's talking about water lately, and there's a new thing about how much is being extracted from the rivers, which we know. We've had some interaction with a small group with Southwest Water who say they are going to be upscaling all their natural water retention schemes. And I just wondered how much they interact with you, and have you had any joint work with Crew that's sited at Exeter? Because that was also a brilliant place to visit and felt like they were having a very positive impact with Southwest Water. Shall I get on to, I've got 2 other quickies. It'd be nice if all those booklets could possibly get to the parish councils, I think, as a resource for people to see, because I think they'd be really informative. A very quick one, speed limit. Do you think it's worth trying to get it to 30 instead of 40? And how easy is it to engage with the large and small land holdings which are in private hands on the moor? We've had obviously the big one with the Darwalls in the press, and it's quite seems to be a friend of mine who farmed for many years on Dartmoor, and there's quite a lot of smaller farms being bought up by people who are not farming. And so I was just wondering how much interaction that you managed to have with private landholders.
Right, Councillor Guthrie. Southwest Water, we have a very good relationship with Southwest Water, because they are the key funders through the Southwest Peatland Partnership, through their upstream thinking programs. And yesterday I mentioned about the Devon Local Nature Partnership Board, and on one of my fellow board members is Carolyn Cadman, who's the Director of Natural Environment and Water Regeneration for Southwest Water. And through that we also are speaking to Crew as well. So yeah, I would concur about how good and the work they do and at the University of Exeter. Various projects going on around water courses, and also following the Duke of Cornwall's visit last week, Southwest Water were talking with him and then ourselves around the importance of the dart within their estate and what they're looking to do to use that as an example. But we're also looking at our key catchment across Dartmoor. Yes, very happy to forward on the information to the parish councils, and we should do as a matter of course. It's those ones just around the edge sometimes that we don't always get to, which are very important from a Dartmoor relationship. We only print now limited copies to make sure that our members of the authority or key partners get a copy, but there's a PDF copy. But there's always an argument as to how well this goes down against a PDF copy. Speed limits. If we're looking at Devon at ensuring that the 40-mile-per-hour limit is enhanced and adhered to, and we've got various initiatives through the Dartmoor Rural Crime Initiative with the police around speed limits. Again, road traffic accidents were at a bit of a high early on in the year. They have dipped actually at the moment. There are various reasons for that, which I won't go into now, but we are looking at greater kind of punishment and penalties for people, but ensuring that they understand why they keep the speed limit, and also working on things like Operation Zero, which are putting collars on the ponies, reflective collars, and also using no-fence collars on cattle to actually keep the cattle away from the road, etc. Sheep, another thing altogether. Landholding engagement, yes, through the Hill Farm project, we tried to do as much as possible to try and engage with new landholders and working with the estate agents. We know they're moved. Where there is common land involved, then they will be encouraged or reached out to join the Dartmoor Common Owners Association, of which the National Park Authority, we own 2% of common lands, Haytor, Buckfossley and Holne. But then, yeah, obviously we'd sit with Duchy of Cornwall, Alexander Darwell and others on that, within that association. There's always more we can do, but to tell you honestly, it's down to capacity and reaching out to, some people want to reach out to us or be engaged, some people don't.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, can we have a final question from Councillor Viney?
Thank you. You can probably answer this in one word. You mentioned earlier that tree planting was inherently difficult. Can you explain why?
Not one word, no. Inherently difficult as you go higher up because of triple SIs, peatlands, depth, etc. So therefore, tree planting on peat is not allowed. Tree planting, natural regen, as you go further up, different areas, different trees, right tree, right place. Dartmoor on the granites, within archaeological monuments, richest archaeological landscape in Western Europe, alongside the peatlands, alongside the climate. That's what makes it difficult, alongside deer and other browsing animals, which then like trees as they come through. More than one word, sorry.
Thank you. It's a very interesting question to finish off with. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for coming in. Fascinating, yeah. Oh, yeah, thank you. Good to see you. I think we need to carry on. We've just got item 11 now, which is the task and finish updates. So 5 minutes each for Councillor Vachon for the Leisure Working Group and Councillor Cunningham with the South West Water Working Group. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Very brief. We had a meeting on the 13th to discuss, obviously, the visit today and the presentation today, see if there's any questions that we could need to ask. I felt the presentation was very good. Although they only gave a small part of it today, I read the whole lot and they answered most of the questions within that, so I was very happy with that. The thing which came out of the meeting was that we need to do a regular, an annual visit to both facilities, which we'll start probably the autumn of this year, which seems reasonable. And just to say that the two facilities seem to be running very well at the moment. They've obviously had a change of management and staff, and they do have some staff issues which they're sorting out. So I think we're very happy, and with the extra questions that Mr. Molyneux passed over to me, we'll add those into the next meeting. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much.
Right, thank you, Chair. Just a quick update on the South West Water Working Group. Obviously, it's sort of dropped off a bit, but we propose to hold another working group meeting with members and then set a date for the South West Water officers to attend. So we've left it for today because obviously we've got some new members on ONS. And what I'd like to propose is those of you who want to either stay on or to come on the South West Water Group, can you email Kathy and then we can look in diaries and get a meeting of the revised South West Water Working Group. And if anyone wants to bring anything forward, whether it be water supply or whether it be sewage, when you come along to that meeting, is that okay? Terry?
Just going to say, I'm quite happy to stay on the group, that's all.
Thank you. That's it in a nutshell.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so if any, sorry, Councillor Devon.
Councillor Guthrie and I had a really interesting visit to Exeter University a few months ago, looking at lots of exciting new projects around water and water management. And, you know, I think we would like to feed some of that back, wouldn't we, if we could?
Yeah, I think, to be honest, it would be really worth getting another visit to Crewe, to be honest, because it's a absolutely amazing setup there. And I asked the brilliant youngish prof that does a lot of the experimentation there if he was compromised because of the large funding of South West Water. And he was unequivocal that it was actually a really good thing, and that the level that they can do the work to is so much higher than national standards, that why it's very useful for South West Water is that instead of always firefighting, if they can get information that's really good at an early stage, it saves South West Water money. So far from them trying to stop things that are happening, it seems that having Crewe there is a really fantastic thing, and I would really recommend it if we can get another visit organised. We should encourage people to go. And Chris was with us as well.
So can we do that as part of the working group? Organise a visit?
Yes, that's fine.
Yeah.
I said when we convene the working group, then we'll see all these things to be brought onto the agenda.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, just to say, reiterate what Steve said and Lynn said, it was really quite fascinating. You actually did get a genuine feel that there was detachment between South West Water and this group. You know, when we were there, they were wheeling out, was it a £3.5 million machine or something like that they were unpacking? And just to reiterate, basically they can do anything there, basically. If we have a problem with water, they can look into it and that. And he's actually setting up projects, he's actually asking people for projects and that as well to come forward with things they're concerned about. And the degree they can go down to is really good. So it'd be great to have to set up another visit if possible for other members if they want to go along. It really was valuable.
Okay, thank you. And I would recommend the visits to the leisure centres. That's very, very interesting and useful. And I would recommend the film, which the Dartmoor National Park people were talking about, starring one of our own members. So yeah, I think we finished now, haven't we? That we like the member. We like all members, don't we? So I think we can close the meeting now. Thank you all for your engagement and interest. And see you soon.
Thank you, Chair.